71G and H will have little to no effect in resolving the current impasse in Parliament. We'll tell you why.
Also, this afternoon, residents in and around La expressed worry over the suspension of work on the La General Hospital despite persistent assurance by government that the project will take shape before the elections.
Plus, this afternoon, Black Stars of Ghana gear up to face Angola in a game that could possibly seal their fate in a quest to qualify for the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Hello there, it's good to see you here on News Central. I'm Kemini Amano.
And I am Mawina Igbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Well, this afternoon, there are concerns the Supreme Court's interpretation of Article 97(1)G and H will have little to no effect in resolving the current impasse in Parliament. That's after counsel for the Speaker, Thaddeus Sorry, in a reaction to the written ruling, said there was no order against Alban Bagbin. The Supreme Court, in a 5-2 majority, upheld the argument of Alexander Peña-Markin that the three members of Parliament from his side did not vacate their seats after filing to contest the next election on the ticket of a new party. Again, the reasoning of the court is coming under the microscope, starting with counsel for the Speaker, Thaddeus Sorry. Let's try and walk you through what he's been saying in a Facebook post this afternoon, which has drawn quite the reaction outside of the reactions which is characterized as 5-2 majority decision. And that's going to come up on your screen right now, except of his post on Facebook, which amongst many things read that the plaintiff's reliefs, the plaintiff hearing Alexander Peña-Markin, who is a leader or the majority leader, therefore did not pray the Supreme Court to declare the Speaker's response to the statement as null and void. The Speaker's response was what Alban Bagbin says was his opinion, or what many have described as his ruling in declaring the 4 seats vacant. Thaddeus Sorry makes the argument that, look, if we look at the reasoning of the justices of the Supreme Court, they did not provide, or the plaintiff, Alexander Peña-Markin, did not provide reliefs to declare the Speaker's ruling as null and void. He proceeds to say that the plaintiff, however, also did not formally, by way of an amendment to his case, formally bring the new fact to the court as part of the substantive case before the court. Essentially, a bit more in backing the argument that no reliefs were brought before the Supreme Court by Alexander Peña-Markin. Then he goes on to say that after the Supreme Court has made a declaration in the exercise of its original jurisdiction, it is required under the provisions of Article 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution to make orders. Orders which were not captured in this reason ruling, which leads him to this particular conclusion, that there is no order saying that the MPs must be allowed in Parliament or order directing that Parliament recognize the said MPs as earlier ordered by the court contained in the majority decision of the court. And which majority decision is Thaddeus Sorry talking or referring to? You recall that when the Speaker made the ruling, Alexander Peña-Markin went to the Supreme Court praying for an ex parte motion to uphold, or not uphold, but rather stay the Speaker's ruling for up to 10 days. The Supreme Court in that ruling stayed the Speaker's ruling until the determination of this particular case, which we're getting the reason ruling of. Thaddeus Sorry makes the argument that without an amendment to the case by Alexander Peña-Markin, that order by the court which stayed the Speaker's ruling becomes moot. Therefore, there are no subsequent orders to declare as null and void the Speaker's ruling. An interesting perspective which has been taken. Let's try and subject this to a bit more scrutiny. John Kwame Kwasin is a private legal practitioner and a law lecturer. He's joining us via Zoom for a conversation in relation to this. I appreciate that you can speak to us, Mr. Kwasin. A new interpretation, really, of the ruling by the Supreme Court. some make the argument that the council of the Speaker is seeking new ways to which this impasse, which is currently in Parliament, can proceed a while longer. What's your own reading into the latest reaction that's come from the Speaker's Council?
Good afternoon to you, my brother. Simply, because of time, the Supreme Court, as a matter of fact, is our apex court. Now, every lawyer and every person interested in following law and then the governance system will know that the United States of America, in a way, started democracy a very long time ago. In the case of Marbury versus Madison, the issues sent to the Supreme Court, if you look at it carefully, were not necessarily the Supreme Court addressed. But at the end of the day, they were able to arrive at certain decisions that for a very long time to come will be the guiding point for democracy in America. We say Supreme Court because they are supreme. Beyond them, there's no other court. Now, the Supreme Court is supposed to have original jurisdiction, and much as there are certain cases that other courts will also have jurisdiction, just like they were saying, all issues relating to elections must be sent to the High Court.
Right.
This matter came up again in this particular case, and then the Supreme Court adequately answered them, answered the defendant.
Right.
That you see, you cannot say that the High Court should have exclusive jurisdiction in cases of maybe MPs and then electoral process. The Supreme Court addressed them adequately in the case of Ebenezer Nkrumah, and this issue was addressed just about 9 years ago, 2015, 2016. So let's say the Supreme Court has full jurisdiction to sit on this matter. So the argument that it should have gone to the High Court doesn't even come in again.
Right.
Now, let's come to the substantive issues. The issues sent to Supreme Court were adequate enough. In any case, what were the defendant also there to defend? Mr. Afenyomarkin had gone for interpretation and then also to ask the Supreme Court to intervene as to whether the action by the Speaker were lawful or not. At the end of the day, there has been a ruling. You see, so the basic question we should be asking ourselves as a country is that, what was the ruling for? And to what end?
Well, the argument is that the argument, Counsel, is that there are no consequential orders. That's a simple argument being made by the Council of the Speaker. Yes, the Supreme Court has interpreted 97(1)(g) and (h), but the subsequent orders which it granted in that ex parte motion, they make the arguments that stands moot, because there's been no new orders. Because if we heard the Chief Justice when she heard that particular case, it was until the determination of this case. And this case has now been determined. They make the argument that there's been no consequential orders, and so Parliament cannot be forced to recognize the said MPs.
Yeah, let me come in. The case was filed before some of the actions by the Speaker were concluded. You see, the law is not static. There are times the courts allow some flexibility of a sort. Now, the end results of adjudication of cases in court is that at the end of the day, justice must be done or seem to be done along the line. Now, there was even this assertion in the ruling that the defendant did not file their defense, all right, but the court will rely on all processes filed. It is trite knowledge that in court, whatever is filed, whatever argument made by your lawyers, and so on and so forth, are all taken into consideration.
But
at the time
on that front,
the ruling came out.
On that front, the argument that's been made was that the defense, particularly from the Speaker's side, was not filed at all. And so from where did the Supreme Court decide to incorporate their defense when they didn't file a statement of case?
The Supreme Court addressed that adequately. If you read the judgment, it is stated there in plain language that the defense alone is not the only legal material they can rely on. They had filed affidavit in opposition. So from there, the Supreme Court was able to glean their intentions and what would have been their defense. Normally, what the affidavit in opposition seeks to do, in a way, is just like your defense.
Right.
We pick element of your defense in filing the affidavit in opposition. But the law allows you that even though you haven't filed your defense, there are certain instances that you can file affidavit in opposition even before you file your defense. So that is where they had, on record. And the Supreme Court had the liberty to use that because in court, whatever you file, is before the court. And they can use that in their analysis and then in their judgment also.
Very well, counsel. Let's try and proceed on the way forward. This argument about consequential orders and the fact that the Supreme Court did not make any such orders. What do you expect to happen going forward? Parliament be bound by this, despite the Speaker's Council making the case that nobody can be held for a high crime because there's no consequential orders attached to this particular ruling. What do you expect going forward?
But the question is that, that is what I'm saying, the law is not static. You understand? The question is that why would the Speaker even attempt to say that because he didn't see direct orders from the court, so he will go ahead and do the very thing that society or many people are saying, that he shouldn't do. I'm not sure the Speaker will intentionally say as a result of one or two technicalities, which in this particular case, it doesn't even arrive because the Supreme Court sat, they brought it in, and there was a 5-2 decision. So the question is that why would they even rule on a 5-2?
Right.
You understand? At the end of the day, like I'm saying, it is not everything that they will have to be concrete. There are times in court when there's a particular ruling, there are implications and consequences that come with it. And these are also to interpretation also.
Right.
But the fact is that what is the essence of the ruling? The essence of the ruling is that at the end of the day, we are trying to check the effects of cross-carpeting in a particular regime of parliament. So Supreme Court is saying that henceforth, from today onwards, no MP will be allowed to cross-carpet until the end of that particular 4 years.
Counsel,
so if you go with MPP, you have to stay till the end of the 4 years. If you go with NDC, the end of the 4 years.
Counsel, I appreciate. I'm sure this conversation will continue for a very long time in relation to perspectives of law, but I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon. That's Counsel Kwame speaking to us this afternoon in relation to his understanding and what we've heard from Counsel of the Speaker, Thaddeus Sore, who's been writing on Facebook, also making the case strongly that nobody possibly could be held for a high crime because there are no consequential orders. But I want to bring you one last detail about the fact that this is not the first time really where we're having an instance of the Supreme Court deciding on a matter with no consequential orders. In fact, in Abu Ramadan versus the Electoral Commission and the Attorney General in 2016, when the Supreme Court made determination or ruled with the fact that registrations for persons with a National Health Insurance Scheme card was unconstitutional, the court failed to make subsequent or consequential orders amounting to deletion of the names of individuals whose details was captured onto the electoral roll via the NHIS. Now, what happened was that The Electoral Commission then decided that because there were no consequential orders, they were not going to go ahead and delete the said names. That prompted Abu Ramadan to go back to court to seek clarification from the Supreme Court, resulting in the court directing deletions, such registrations with clear timelines with regards to the deletion. And so, not a first time, not really uncharted waters, the argument can be made that the plaintiffs can return to court for the court to make consequential orders. That's the latest with regards to this matter. A lot more for you if you stay with us here on TV3.
Let's change focus now to the Education Ministry, which has begun investigations into claims by Northern MP Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa that approximately 22,000 bags of expired rice were repackaged and supplied to senior high schools across the country. The lawmaker claims the rice, which expired in December of 2023, was placed in locally produced sacks labeled ECOWAS and made in Ghana rice, but with no expiry dates. In a statement, the ministry said it is working closely with the National Food Buffer Stock Company and the Ghana Commodities Exchange, the entities responsible for food supplies to senior high schools across the country. You're live on NewsCentral here on TV3. When we return, we'll talk to the Education Minister, or the Education Ministry, excuse me, on the scope of this investigations. Don't go away.
Dr. Baumia once said in a church,
since 2014 in India, they have a policy to only build concrete roads because it works out much cheaper. So I said, well, let me bring this to my bosses, and we have been discussing this as recently as last week in Parliament. And Bishop Dag, I'll let you into it. Cabinet did decide last week that we should move towards concrete roads as a country.
Where are the concrete roads? It was all lies. You trust this man at your own peril. Vote John Dramani Mahama for president. Trustworthy, honest, and reliable. Vote for change. Choose the umbrella. Vote John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
One bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. One bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
With Showmax, your favorite characters now follow you anywhere. Download it today and watch the best in local, international, and everything in between.
Over 5 million children have benefited from free SHS. Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia, #1 on the ballot.
The luckiest.
Star 712#.
Luck is everywhere.
8K. Hey, you get an 8K. Get a packing so you have to one lie. Hey, wait.
You go put it on his tab. This is my man.
Good luck. We'll wait here. We are star 712. I'm on dialing the magic numbers. Star 712. Now welcome to the luckiest. And now with me at home ticket. You can buy for yourself or your loved one.
Mommy, tell mommy who's here.
You're buying for me, right?
Although who else?
Oh.
Let's choose buy tickets for adults.
Love you, boo-boo.
Maybe straight to option 4.
Now, you need to buy tickets worth 50 Ghana to qualify. Yes, you can buy random or preferred tickets.
I'm choosing random ticket. That's it.
Listen, if you buy the random ticket, the system chooses a random number for you. But if you buy the preferred, you get to input your own preferred 5 digits. 5.
Baby, give me your 5 numbers.
And how much are we buying?
Babe, look at the body and buy you.
With your body,
Hey, never. Tread cautiously.
Now follow the prompts and prepare. Now the luckiest.
The luckiest is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform, not for persons below 18 years. TNCs apply.
One of the most important and popular forms of communication is through a television set, and not just any television set, but Franco television set. We have smart and LED TVs ranging from the smallest of 32 inches to the biggest of 86 inches. Franco television is easy to operate. It gives you the best picture and has distinctive features like maracas, USB, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and 4K resolution pictures. Rush now to any of our branches nationwide or on our website at www.francotrading.com. You can call the numbers on the screen for any assistance. Franco Trading Enterprise is still the home of quality television sets.
A vote for the MPP candidate in this 2024 election is a vote for a third term for Nana Akufo-Addo. Why they are desperate to break the 8 is to do a cover-up of the 8 years of atrocities that they have inflicted on Ghanaians.
Stand this way. Go this way. Come this way.
Vote John Dramani Mahama for president. Trustworthy, honest, and reliable. Vote for change. Choose the umbrella. Vote John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
Arise, but with no expiry dates. In a statement, the ministry said it is working closely with the National Food Buffer Stock Company and the Ghana Commodity Exchange, the entities responsible for food supplies to senior high schools across the country. We're still working to get the Education Ministry to understand the scope of the investigations. In the meantime, we can talk to the North Tongu MP who brought this to light. Samuel Okujetu Ablako has joined me via telephone. Honourable, good afternoon to you. The Education Ministry says that it is investigating this matter. How does this come to you?
Hello?
Hello, Honourable.
Hello?
Yes, I was asking.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. I was asking, the Education Ministry now says it is investigating this matter. How does it come to you?
I am disappointed that the Ministry of Education is feigning ignorance and trying to pretend that it only got to know about this when I put out this expose. I have intercepted an investigative report by the Food and Drugs Authority. As far back as January, a Deputy Minister of Education, Reverend John Intim Foyo, was briefed about this matter. As far back as January, the Ministry of Education could have stopped this distribution of expired, contaminated rice, which had been rebagged without expiry dates, and which all our SHS students have been fed on. They could have stopped this as far back in January. So the attempt to now, in November, after this has been brought to light, after they have been exposed, create the impression that they only now got to know about it and are now going to investigate, is disingenuous, is dishonest, is deceptive, and it should not be tolerated. I must add that based on what I know and this attempt to feign ignorance by the Minister of Education, what we need, what this country urgently needs, is an independent, impartial, credible investigation, not one that will be conducted by a ministry that is complicit. So the Ministry of Education itself has questions to answer. Why did the Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Tim Fojo, conceal this information and did not take steps to stop the rebagging of this rice by the Food and Buffer Stock Company, which is an institution that works closely with the Ministry of Education? So they are all complicit in this matter. And we cannot trust any investigation that this ministry, which is complicit, will conduct. We need an independent, credible, impartial investigation by another entity, not the Ministry of Education.
Another entity, who do you have in mind, or what do you have in mind?
A commission of inquiry will be more credible. A commission of inquiry.
I see. I want to ask also, to the best of your knowledge, is this rice still in circulation?
Unfortunately, my checks from the schools, I have the entire distribution list. Unfortunately, all the rice has been consumed. From Presec to St. Monica's to Bolga Girls to Konongo Odumasi Senior High School, Achimota, Laboni, Accra Girls, they have all consumed this rice. Over 22,000 bags. It's all finished. It's in the stomach of our children, and our children have been put at great risk. The doctors who have assessed the FDA examination results say that this is contaminated food which should have been destroyed. It shouldn't even be fed to animals. So this is a grave matter, and heads should be rolling. People should be fired. People should be in jail. The guys at Lamens Africa Investment Limited and the food and Buffer Stock Company, the CEO, Abdul Wahab, the board chair, Nanabi, and others, should be facing the music. They should be losing their jobs. They should be sanctioned. People should be prosecuted. I don't understand why the directors of Lamens were only given a slap on the wrist, made to pay 50,000 cedis, and they are walking freely, smiling all the way to the bank. They have made hundreds of millions at our expense, at the expense of the health of our SHS students. People should be prosecuted. People should be in jail by now. People should lose their jobs. This is a grave matter.
I see.
And this is not the time for anybody to be feigning ignorance.
Very honorable. For those who are just catching up on this issue, why have you mentioned all these organizations, including the private company Lamens?
Because Lamens is the company that imported the rice, and Lamens conspired with the food and drugs, the food and buffer stock company, to rebag. Remember that they did the rebagging at the storage facility of the National Food and Buffer Stock Company. Can you believe that? The people and institutions which should be protecting our children, they conspired with Lamens. Lamens did not do this rebagging in some secret location. They did it right at the storage facility of NAFCO in Kumasi. And after a tip-off, the police went there, closed down the place, arrested the Lamens guys, including Simon Ejay, who is a director of Lamens. Orders came from above that they should be released. Orders came from above that this food should be redistributed to all our schools. When they didn't have an expiry date, a violation of our laws, a violation of the Public Health Act at 851, and even before the samples results will come from the FDA, all the rice had been distributed by 2nd February. The results came in 6th February from the FDA. So you see the complicity. And don't forget that Lamens has admitted in a letter dated 3rd January 2024, a copy of which I have. They have admitted to their wrongdoing, to their atrocities, and they have paid a fine of 50,000, which really is an insult. That 50,000 cedis they paid, an insult to all of us.
Very well, Honorable. I would have to leave this conversation here for now. I have a feeling we'll pick it up later tonight. But thank you so much for talking to us. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa is not Tongu MP. He's been the one who's brought to light the issue around expired rice being fed to secondary school students across this country. About 22,000 bags have already been cooked and fed to the children. We've also been hearing from the flag bearer of the NDC, who's accused the government through the National Food and Buffer Stock Company of feeding innocent students with expired rice. And on the back of this expose as well, let's take a listen to John Dramani Mahama.
Yabanswa, MCN Nansen Watse, and Mubia, I say, I just say, expiry date was so a trouble. Now, MPP are buying National Buffer Stock, almost the Sa and Mono, almost per se, Obia be who expiry date, Ninti, say, and Mona say, almost the bottle of fro, no more share, and Mona say, no gum. And no more they acquire secondary schools. Ediama Yankwadano Edi. Entina NDC say, Yaba, Yan Koto and more embrace schools no. Sika was say Yadisha and Kwadano and the free SHS no. As I went so senior high, Omusika, Yadibeba Bema Omo headmaster. No I call as I went so Jom, no I koto Baire, Watoto Gari, Wakoto and more.
NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama also raising concerns about the expired food allegedly fed to students of senior high schools across the country. Now, there'll be more on this story in subsequent broadcasts. We'll hear for the first time from Laments if you stay with us here on TV3. In the meantime, let's go across the regions in Regional Hub.
We're taking you to Lompe in the Nanumba North municipality of the northern region, where more than 300 school children of the Lompe primary school have dropped out of school due to the poor state of the school's infrastructure, putting the future of the children there in jeopardy. So these children have the desire to be in school in order to pursue their dreams of becoming useful to their society. The poor state of infrastructure in the community continues to hinder the realization of this dream. My colleague Christopher Mwako has been following this particular development, is joining us with a bit more on this, rather unfortunate as it is. But Chris, talk to us, paint a picture for us. We've been seeing bits and pieces of what the structure is like, but talk to us. What is it like for these students waking up, taking their bath, wanting to go to school every day?
Yes, so Mawena, it is very bad and pathetic to see how deplorable the school infrastructure is. I've been to the community and I must admit that it's become something that even parents do not want their children to go sit in that structure. Mawena, if you go to the school, there is no single furniture provided by the Nanumba North Municipal Assembly. So the children will have to go to the bush, cut trees, come to the school and fix them together so that they will be able to have a place to sit. This has affected enrollment at the school. Most of the community members have withdrawn their children from the school, and some of them have to go to faraway places. They have to ride bicycles for about 20 kilometers to attend school elsewhere. In fact, the difficulty in it is that they have to even cross rivers when they are going to attend school in other communities. And so the picture there is very terrible. And when you even go, the class rooms, most of them have even fallen. And so there is no classroom. Primary 5, primary 4, primary 5, primary 6, they do not have classrooms to sit. And so when the primary 1, primary 2, primary 3 people go for first lesson, they'll go out for the primary 4, primary 5, primary 6 to also go and sit and take their lessons. So it is very terrible. Some of the teachers in that school have actually been expressing their frustrations teaching in that community.
Chris, suppose that was not a teacher, that's a parent. Talk to us about what exactly they had to say, because I should suppose it's of great concern to parents in the area as well.
So what parents are saying is that, look, we are also Ghanaians and we deserve to have some of these basic education infrastructure. They have children, over 600 children in that community. Unfortunately, because of the current state of the school infrastructure, the children do not even want to go to sit in that school infrastructure. And so it's a worrying situation for parents. It's a worrying situation for opinion leaders, including other people who go there to do business with the people. And so they have all been lamenting about the state of the school infrastructure. And all they asking for is that the Nanumba North Municipal Assembly government, central government should come to their aid, because the future of these children will be at stake if there is no proper infrastructure for them to go and have their lessons. But Mawena, let's still take a listen to what the teachers have been telling me.
Right. It's difficult to understand that even we don't have even a single chair for children to sit down. You as a teacher will be standing teaching, while some of the children are squatting while writing. So it has been a very difficult task for us in this particular school. And as I speak, more than 300 children have withdrawn from school. Simple reason because of lack of infrastructure and some of these teaching and learning materials. So it has been so difficult for us in this particular school. So if government comes in our aid by providing this school infrastructure, I believe these children will come back to school to continue their education.
You can see behind me the school infrastructure, which is very bad. And this is supposed to be for class 6 and class 5. And as you can see, there are no chairs, no table and chairs for our pupils to even sit on. Looking at the walls, there is nothing like a blackboard or a marker board. Sometimes you just have to come, dictate, talk, explain things haphazardly and let them go, because you can't do otherwise. You expect students from this community or students being taught under this condition to compete with other students from the urban areas.
Chris, quite appalling, the infrastructure was seen there. Everybody seems to be making the case, intervention from government. What's been the response of the Nanumba North District Education Service or the MC to start off with in taking steps to begin to address these matters?
Yes, so the Municipal Director of Education actually indicated that he does not provide infrastructure. He will have to write to the Assembly and other institutions that can help or support them with infrastructure. He has done that. The issue has been reported to him. It's a worrying issue for him. In fact, it's one of the schools that if he has the power, he will attend to. And so he has written to the Assembly and waiting for them to respond. He has actually told me that he has responded severally to the complaints of the community members. The Assembly member has also indicated that he has tabled this at the Nanumba North District Assembly meetings, but they are yet to get any positive response. I've been trying to get in touch with the Municipal Chief Executive for the Nanumba North Municipal Assembly, but until now, I'm unable to do that. Probably when I get him, he will provide
get a bit more.
Some explanation.
Right then, Chris, as always, I appreciate the details. That's my colleague, Christopher Mwako, with details there for us.
Road network in the Upper West region presents considerable challenges, particularly in the aftermath of devastating floods that wreaked havoc across the region in 2021, destroying major roads and bridges, leaving more than 1,605 residents significantly impacted. The Upper West Region branch of the Ghana Highway Authority has expressed concerns regarding the region's overdependency on a single source of stone crush and quarry, saying the situation is taking a toll on its ability to deliver critical road construction in the region. We can speak to our regional correspondent, Ibrahim Wangara, to tell us a bit more about the situation there in the Upper West region. Wangara, good afternoon to you. Talk to us about the road network in the region. Paint us a picture.
Good afternoon. Yes, road network in the Upper West region is in a very deplorable state. And then, considering 3 years ago, what the area witnessed. You recall that when torrential rains flood took part of the Upper West region, it was cut off, or some parts of the Upper West region were cut off from the regional capital and other adjoining regions, that is to say from Upper West to Upper East. And then communities like the Sisale Enclave, the Fiamma Buse, Isa, Jirapa, Nadolu Keleo were all affected. But fast forward, these areas literally got attention from the authorities as the areas were in a way patched for the time being, but no major work were done on these areas. And as we speak currently, those places coupled with other areas are impacting negatively on the citizens of the Upper West region, more particularly farmers who are lamenting the impact of the situation because they are unable to transport their produce from their farms to their market, and the few that they manage to bring home, they are unable to send them to their market. We can take a listen to some residents as they lament to us on the poor state of the roads.
When you look at the number of trucks, vehicles, even transporting our goods from farm to the house, there are a number of roads that have been linked to this place. It's a place popularly called Hasfopol. If you go there, there's no single truck that can pass there because that bridge has been falling and have been washed away. Even a motorbike, you can't go. And promises upon promises upon promises on government. Many vehicles are passing this road, and when these are the first roads, whenever they take those, they cannot move. And if the loads are not moved to the areas that are the goods are always sold, how can we sell our goods? If our vehicles are not passing the roads, we can never sell our goods. And for that,
Ibrahim, just before we let you go, the one behind you, the road behind you looks good though. Talk to us. Is this only specific to certain areas in the Upper West region?
Well, from the look of things like you painted, it may
Oh, well, look at the network. It would appear that we can't get a response to that question because of the connection. But we'll get more on that story in subsequent broadcasts. Stay with us here on TV3.
Under the MPP, we have arrested the rapid depreciation of the city.
A nose-diving currency.
Why are you running?
Which has rather arrested the person who said he would arrest, he had arrested it.
I understand.
The dollar has rather arrested him. And so we're looking for him, we can't find him. I asked the IGP if he had the key so that we could find where Vice President was, and he said he doesn't have it.
I understand. I'm still amazed by the stuff that comes out of your mouth.
Vote John Dramani Mahama for president. Trustworthy, honest, and reliable. Vote for change. Choose the umbrella. Vote John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
I'm a Ghanaian, and I love luxury accredited faith, and I love democracy.
December 7th, Ghana is voting.
Only peace Peace, I give it to you all.
I love Ghana.
Peaceful election before, during, and after.
One Ghana.
Peace, peace to everybody.
One Ghana. Ghana Bakumpe.
This message brought to you from the Lozzy Accredited Faith.
Champion! Oh yes, Bomba on the 16th of November 2024. All rollers to King David Entertainment Center inside Tamale. Come, let's party with the Afrobeat Badman Kelvin Boy. Let's party inside the biggest, finest, and award-winning entertainment center inside Tamale. Escape the ordinary and indulge in luxury at our guest house where comfort meets convenience. Taste the flavors of Ghana and beyond at our exquisite restaurant where every bite tells a story. It's Chaco Grill Giddy Fowl with hot or mild pepper. It's the best delicacy. When the sun sets, the party begins. Dance the night away under the stars at our electrifying night. Enjoy the nightlife under the moonlight at KD's poolside or pub with live band settings every weekend. We have perfect security system, both physical and electronic, so your safety is assured.
We did there, King David. The Afrobeat Badman Day there. I know everybody will pull up. You can miss this one on the 16th of November. At the pull up, it I go mad, yeah? Kaula, we did there. My head, you there for my head, but.
where TV3's Anita Ekufu is currently engaging constituents on the key issues influence their voting patterns in this year's general elections. Anita, good afternoon. What have you been gathering from the voters so far?
When it comes to this constituency, and the 2024 elections just 22 days away, and we're here to find out from them which way are they going to vote when it comes to the elections. Let's get talking.
Tama Jomama by almost a coin or city or Statia, a coin and Sana. Yaye. Maybe you are hand me MPP member, family or membership card, but the CS and Adiana corner. David and Yatra, Yahuntri, intermediate. Mama, dear,
my major reason why I'll vote for MPP is because it's like they are the party in power right now, and studying like Ghana politics, it looks like every time false promises. So it's like taking an empty basket out and bringing another one. You have to start from scratch all the time. So the situation I see is almost always the same. So I believe it's better to keep the old person, so maybe some things can change.
Okay, but what are some of the challenges you think the Adenta constituency is facing that needs to be addressed?
In these places, we have a lot of flood issues here.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see some of the roads here are very bad, and they should do something about it. But apart from that, I don't see nothing. Life is hard, and I'm not going to say it has to do with politics, but there are just some necessities around the garden.
Well, we just heard from Anita Ekufu with that report, and then your election command center for today.
Back to sports now, because Niger's handed Ghana a lifeline after an impressive 4-0 win over Sudan in the 2025 AFCON qualifiers. What Ghana couldn't do via two legs, they did with a 4-0 win. The Black Stars will hope to capitalize when they face Angola in Luanda at 7 p.m. later tonight. The four-time African champions need all 3 points, and head coach Otuado is hopeful. Well, let's bring in my colleague Urekwan for a quick chit-chat in terms of what we should expect. And, I mean, well, we can listen to Otuado now, who's been speaking ahead of the game.
Yeah, these are difficult games. You can't take it for granted that they will play, let's say, 50% or so. I know that they will give 100%. It's going to be difficult. It's an away game. And it's going to be very, very tight, I know. But I think mentally the boys are ready. Yeah, looking forward for that game. Yeah, it's time for our first victory in this competition, and I think it's a great chance to keep the chance alive.
Right then, like I mentioned, Urekwan Pofu is here. Let's try and walk through today's game. 7 p.m. it is later this evening, but let's start with how important the game is. A lot of people have written us off, myself included. I don't think we're going to make it to next year's AFCON, but it does appear that there is a slim chance.
Yes, there is a slim chance, and I think that in itself could be used as a motivating factor. Although it wouldn't be decided today, it can still be over today. So qualification would not be decided today. But what Ghana has to do is to ensure that heading into the final round of games next week, they're still alive. And there's only one way Ghana can do that, and that's by winning against Angola. And so that is what, the obligation that the team has. And for me, I'm not even looking at the qualifiers. I think it's time to restore confidence. It's time to ensure that at least Ghana proves that they've learned from their mistakes and they're willing to build on this going forward. Even if you win your 2 games and Sudan end up qualifying, there's still a World Cup qualifier to look forward to. But what's imperative is that you don't want a day after Niger have done you a favor, you go out there and you embarrass yourselves.
That will actually prove the point that we're at our lowest at this particular point in time as a footballing nation.
Yeah, it would be very disappointing. And I think for the team and for themselves, just for sanity's sake, win away, come back to Accra, and then you can think of the impossible next week when you have to win and then hope that Sudan would also lose that game against Angola.
I'll come for your verdicts, but let's look at possible lineups because we know that quite a number of the senior players expected to come through the ranks pulled out because of injury. At the back, I know Alexander Jiku off the top of my head.
Yeah.
How is it looking like for us in terms of how we line up today in a must-win game, anything but a win and we're out?
Well, I think the biggest headache for Toado heading into tonight is what's going to be his defensive pairing, because if you look at the centre-back row, in the past year, there's been Mohamed Salisu, Alexander Jiku, and then Abdul Mumin and Jerome Bopoku. These four players have shared the role, and I don't think he ever dreamt that there would be an instance where he would be without all these four guys. And today he has to do it without them. And so it will be a new partnership. And what I would propose, entirely new, yeah, central defensive backline. What I would propose is that let's go back to the back three system, which I think has been the most reliable for Otto. In his best moment when he went away to Abuja in the World Cup playoff where we beat Nigeria, it was the back three. Even if you look at the World Cup itself, there were games where we went into a back three. Even against Sudan away, went into a back three and we started to look good a bit. Just to ensure that we're a bit compact and you can rely on the experience of Ali Duseidu. I would propose Alidu joins Terry Egbe and Nathaniel Ejay because Terry Egbe is left-footed and so could be on the left side of the defense. Alidu could be on the right, Nathaniel in the middle, just so that Alidu with his experience can run across these two guys who would be making their debut. And then in front of them, you do have Elisha Owusu and Ibrahim Sulemana, two guys who know each other well, have been playing together and can provide some shield for this fairly new defensive setup. I think we can go with wing backs, Gideon Mensah on the left side. On the right side, it'll be difficult because we don't have Tariq, and because Alidu has to play centre back, I think we can go for Osman Bukari, who has proved that he has pace and a lot of energy to bend, so could go up in front. And our inside forwards, I'll go with Kudus and then Fatau. I think they can play in tight spaces, and most importantly, they are two of our best shooters. And so you want them in and around central areas because I don't think Ghana will get too much joy in Luanda. And then up front, I don't think we have any other option. Jordan Ayew will be captain tonight and should start as the anchorman up front.
Let's one final question. What happens if we don't qualify? And, we have the standings of the group as it is now. That also could come up even as we try and wrap up with this particular conversation. It's a big question. Should Otuado stay if we don't make it? You've mentioned the World Cup qualifiers, which is still there. We're looking good on that front, but over here we're rock bottom.
I think it's an extreme polar opposite when you're looking at the two qualifiers. World Cup qualifier, Ghana joined top of the group, 7 points after the first couple of rounds, and then there's also the AFCON qualifiers where with 2 more games to go, we're looking at Ghana sitting bottom. And so I think a lot would depend on these 2 games and how we finish the qualifiers. I think that everyone knew that Otto coming in was a long-term project. And so he would need some time, but you also need to buy confidence while also asking for time. And the only way to buy confidence is to at least do your part with these 2 games. If you win these 2 games comfortably, and unfortunately Sudan get the point that they need or win and they end up going to the AFCON, I think Ghanaians will be more forgiving and more hopeful heading into next year. At least this young squad showed something than to go out with your heads bowed down and lose these 2 games and end up not qualifying.
Time is one thing Coach Otuado doesn't have. It's one thing we don't have here as well, as it's time for us to make our way out of the studio. But just briefly, Kemeni has joined us as well. I want to find out if you believe we're going to make it to the AFCON next
year. I hope we do. Because I thought we had been disqualified already.
We're out. No. I believe
we're almost out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope we do. I hope we do. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah. But quickly, follow us 3news.gh on Instagram. That's where you find all things news. Hear from us at TV3. That's our bulletin for you for today and for the week. I am Mawina Igbeta.
And I am Kemeni Amano. We're waiting for you.
I'm very comfortable and we hope Ghana qualifies.
Yes.